Primary, folks, will not happen until August 23rd. And there are 4 Democratic nominees for governor who want to be the one to run against incumbent Governor Ron DeSantis. Those 4 candidates are Congressman Charlie Crist, former governor of Florida, Cadance Daniel, Robert Willis, as well as the Agriculture Commissioner of the state, Nikki Fried. Nikki joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Glad to have you on the show, Nikki. Thank you so very much. First and foremost, Ron DeSantis has raised a significant amount of money. He is a darling of the MAGA crowd. He already has his eyes set on the running for president in 2024, but he wants to do so as the governor of Florida. How are you and others going to stop him from winning another term?
First of all, Roland, it is such an honor to be on with you tonight. You are a legend, but you already know that. Look, here's the deal. You know, Ron has been flying so close to the sun. He is right now speaking very loudly to a very small population here in the state of Florida. And then after we win this primary, we'll be able to create such a coalition of individuals who really have been hurt and humiliated and silenced by this DeSantis administration. I was the first person in 2020 as our only statewide elected Democrat to really call him out for becoming a dictator. That's what he's done. He is taking away people's rights to protest, rights to vote. Look, he took away our 2 black congressional districts here in the state of Florida. He's now going after teachers, higher ed system, going after Disney World. There are so many things that he really truly has done here in the state of Florida that come the general election, the money is going to pour here into the state of Florida because people realize that he wants to run for president of the United States. And so this is going to be a POTUS primary, and we know that we've got the right equation, we've got the right candidate, and it's a matter of going everywhere in our state and giving people another option, but also talking about the economy. People are hurting right now, and DeSantis is more concerned about blaming President Biden than really looking at the issues on the ground that is happening and hurting people every single day here.
Well, here's a perfect example. DeSantis is going around the state right now, presenting checks left and right. That's money that came from the bill that Biden pushed that many Republicans voted against. Are you and other Democrats following him around? Are people holding up signs saying, hey, thank Biden, these checks ain't DeSantis' money. This came from the Democratic president. I mean, here's a guy literally trying to take credit and burnish his credentials with money that Republicans did not want to vote for.
Absolutely. You know, when that money first was passed in 2021, you know, he came out and said, well, we didn't get enough money or we got too much money. And so I called out his nepotism and I called out the hypocrisy of some of those dollars. And now he's touting the fact that we've got the largest surplus in the history of the state of Florida. Well, of course you do, because all this money came down from President Biden. And so every single time we are calling it out on social media, we are calling out as much as we can, making people understand the money that is going into these communities is coming from the Biden plans that they passed. And not a single Republican in the state of Florida, you know, voted for it. So we are calling this out and making people understand. And look also where the money is going. The money is going into white wealthy communities or in white rural communities, and not really focusing on what is happening on the ground in so many pockets of our communities that haven't seen any of these dollars for stimulants, to see where we can put money for producing more jobs and economic opportunities, especially in our black and brown communities. So we are calling them out as loud as possible, and certainly after the primary, we will have an even larger microphone that we're going to be able to crisscross our state and remind people that this money came from Washington, D.C. This has absolutely nothing to do with Ron DeSantis. In fact, he wants to talk about inflation. Well, then you shouldn't have taken the money to begin with if that really is your concern.
One of the things that you have to deal with, and we have to be honest, Democrats have been porous in the state. The state party has had fundamental problems. When you look at, again, the gains the Republicans have made, they have been significant. And so there's a huge task at hand. Congresswoman Val Demings has the same issue running against Senator Marco Rubio in the United States Senate race. If I go back to the race 4 years ago, Andrew Gillum versus Ron DeSantis, Gillum loses by 30,000 votes. But one of the issues that, I'm the Tallahassee Democrat, they actually had a graphic, and I showed it consistently, where they show the top 12 or 15 counties in the state. Well, it took you to get to like number 11 in terms of turnout before you saw a blue county. I believe there was Broward County. Miami-Dade was lower. And so what are you and others going to do or trying to do to really repair the infrastructure of the Democratic Party in terms of being able to get folks out to vote, appeal to Latino voters? They've been voting significantly with Republicans, but also turning out black voters. If you don't do well as Democrats in Broward or Miami-Dade County, you have no shot at winning. What's the plan?
Yep, absolutely. And you're 100% correct. You know, when I ran in 2018, so I was on the same ticket as Andrew, and I thank every single day the black voters that came out, because I know that they mobilized and they came out for Andrew, and I reaped the benefit of that. And so understanding what happened in 2018 and what Democrats do really bad, we spend so much time and energy talking about just the top of the ticket and putting all of our resources at the top of the ticket. And down ballot candidates, our grassroots organizing events, our caucuses, our clubs, our House and our Senate seats, our city and county commission seats don't have the resources that are necessary. So it's part of my pledge that we need the money at the top, but we need to make sure that it's going down. And what's really cool is that we have the opportunity this year that there may be 4 women that come out of this primary season, and 3 that would be women of color. And so looking at the ways to actually market and brand the Democratic Party and do commercials together, all 5 of us, that would be Val, myself, and the other 3 members of the cabinet on the slate, doing commercials together, really exciting the base, showing the complete difference. The other thing that we don't do well, which is something that I did well in 2018, which is how I won, is that we only focus on the blue counties. The only person who's been able to do this well in Florida since our last Democratic governor is Barack Obama. He came and understood that we can't just talk to the blue areas. We've got to go to the red rural communities, go to the red counties, and make sure that we're losing by less. And that's what I did in 2018. I targeted 13 counties in my state and said, I know I can't win these. I flipped 2 of them, but losing by less in some of those areas to make up for the gap. Because no matter how much that we turn out in Dade and Broward and some of our other blue areas, we can't overcome if we ignore them. And when it comes to the Hispanic community, we also in 2020 ignored them. We basically conceded the state. We had very little involvement from the Biden campaign here in 2020, where you saw the Trump machine come here and talking to the Hispanic community. So day 1 of my campaign, we started what's called the Nikki Escucha Tour, Nikki Listens. We crisscrossed our state talking to the Hispanic community, but not as a whole. We talked to the Puerto Rican community, the Cuban community, Colombian, Venezuelan, even making sure that we're talking to the Haitian community, which is different than just the black community, making sure that we're talking to the Caribbean community. And so we as Democrats haven't done a good job making sure that we understood and listened to what are the issues on the ground affecting each of these different communities. I was born and raised in Miami. My back neighbors were Cubans growing up. I heard the stories. I went to Cayo Ocho once a month growing up. And a lot of times is understanding that the personal plight that so many of these individuals went through to get to Florida, get to America, understanding those situations and saying, look, at the end of the day, we all want freedom. We all want democracy. And unfortunately, you've got a governor right here who's doing just the opposite. And we understand the economic struggles that so many people are dealing with today that Ron DeSantis is not dealing with, wants to focus his time and energy on Washington, D.C., and not in the actual backyards of the people here in our state.
Well, here's a perfect example. Here's Ron DeSantis, just flat out lying in this news conference. See if I can play this here. Here we go. All right, so for some reason we're not playing it. But basically DeSantis is out here talking about how school workers are telling kids, oh, you have the option, to change your gender. He's throwing these things out. We saw him attack the black congressional district. We saw what happened with Disney as well. This guy has lied. He lied about critical race theory being in math books. And I think, so are people literally calling him on his lies?
Yes. We're doing that every single day. And what is great is the fact that, as our only statewide elected Democrat, I have been in the trenches. I have been fighting him for the last 3.5 years. And so now as I travel the state and talking to other electeds, other candidates, I make sure that we stay very on focus and on point, because we as Democrats get this tendency to throw everything out there and hope that something sticks. We've got to be very message focused. Got to make sure that we call him out on the lies, on what he's doing. We had Nazis that were protesting in Tampa over this weekend, right outside of where he was giving a speech, showing and holding Nazi flags, holding pictures of him and praising Ron DeSantis. I went out there on Sunday at the exact same spot, asking Ron DeSantis to denounce Nazis. This should be basic 101 for any American here, and especially an individual who leads a state of 22 million people, the most diverse state in the nation with the third largest Jewish population. And so it's going to take all of us this courage to stand up and speak loudly on these issues. And we are saying these things. And of course, unfortunately, the national media, wants to just anoint him as the next heir apparent to Trump and doesn't realize that we need help here on the ground, that we can beat him and we will beat him. He only won by 33,000 votes. This is a state that less than 1% margins are the decisions between winners and losers. I flipped a seat by almost 1 million votes, 20 points in 2018, to be the first female to ever been elected Commissioner of Agriculture here in the state and here in the Southeast. And so we are going to have Democrats stay very laser focused, calling this out, but also not falling for his traps. Because that's what he also likes to do. He likes to throw out these things that he knows polls well, not only on his base, but even on some of the moderates in our state. We as Democrats can't focus on falling for his traps. We need to make sure that we are message disciplined. We're talking about the economy, and we're calling out his lies. Even this weekend, last weekend, he said that, again, math books had woke in them. And so that's why they had to be taken off the shelves. This is the situation in Florida, and so this has to be all hands on deck to everybody across the country. This guy is the largest threat to democracy in the entire country, and we're going to need backup and support. I will make sure that we are organized here on the ground, but the resources from across the country is going to be necessary for help and support come November.
All right, then, Nikki Fried. Commissioner Fried, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I look forward to having you back, and we'll certainly be watching this race intensely.
Well, appreciate your time and appreciate what you do out here. Thank you.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?